We are talking about money. We'd all like to save more money and get out of debt, but it is not always that easy. Mickey Powell of Powell Financial Partners joins us with some practical steps. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I think credit card debt is something we can all relate to. Best day of my life when I paid off a credit card.
Oh, I think a lot of people have experienced that, myself as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we're talking lots of people out there have credit card debt. The average college student has more than $20,000 in debt. Where do you begin?
You know, Erin, it's not impossible. I think the first thing that people need to understand is they've got to develop a mindset that they're not going to borrow any more money. You know, if you keep borrowing, well, then you're not ever going to get things paid off. It's so fashionable, it almost seems like that, you know, you get a credit card offer almost every week in the mail, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then somebody else gets a new car, you know, so you feel like, you know, you want to get a new car. You need new furniture. And really, if you can't afford to buy these things and pay cash for it, if you can continue getting by with what you have, it makes so much more sense and you'll be so much better off. Yeah,
for sure. What do we do first, though? Pay down debt or start saving?
You know, you can actually do both. You really can. And one really good rule of thumb is that people need to have a cushion. Start with $1,000 of money that's there for an emergency or a rainy day, but then try to build that up. And depending on who you talk to, you know, they might say, well, you need 3 to 6 months, maybe even a year's worth of income to pay your bills, because if you had a job change or loss, or if you had an emergency that came up, well, then if you have that money, you know, it's not going to force you to go back to those credit cards again.
Yeah, so a good rule of thumb, as you said, start with $1,000, but then you can always add to that.
You can. You can always start where you're at. That's real important for people to understand.
Okay, for sure. If someone's in major debt, should they put all of their money to paying it off, or should they cash out their retirement account so they're debt free?
You know, that's a great question, and we talk to people about that on a pretty regular basis, and every situation is different. It depends on where they're at in their lifestyle. If you take money out of retirement plans too early, you're going to pay a penalty, and so it gets to be very, very expensive in paying off that debt. A better thing, I think, is to try to work and maybe make more money. Try to cut your spending, freeing up income that you can pay that debt off faster.
I was telling you one time, the hardest thing for me to do is actually sit down and do a budget, because if people out there living paycheck to paycheck, they know they've got debt and they're sitting here thinking, I just can't save $1 or $2 here or there. But once you sit down and actually do a budget, you can really see where you can save, or maybe I can do without that, or wow, look how much I'm spending on eating out, you know, etc.
You really can. And you know, people probably have more income than they realize. What they don't keep track of is where it's all going. And here again, having that written plan, having a budget, staying with it, be diligent about it, it's very, very rewarding, and they can make a lot more progress than they realize.
Yeah, well, I know we're throwing a bunch of information at you, but you've got some online tools that people can go to for absolutely free and click through and really get a plan together.
You really can. Mint is a great resource online for budgeting. We also have at our website, powellfinancialpartners.com, a flip book that talks about investing basics of how to do budgets and how to start building for wealth. And it's a very, very easy, interactive tool to use and learn from. Great education piece.
Perfect. All right, Mickey, you're not going anywhere. Coming up in our next hour, we are talking 401ks. I know that can confuse a lot of people, but we're gonna try to simplify that for you.
We're gonna have some easy answers.
All right, sounds good. If you are like a lot of employees, you may be putting part of your paycheck in a 401k, but you might not fully understand how that money is being invested. A Department of Labor survey found half of workers offered a 401k plan at work, and they did not even participate. Mickey Powell with Powell Financial Partners is back with us this morning. Thanks for sticking around to talk about this important topic. If you're like me, you get the 401k statements in the mail and you just put them in a file, because I'm thinking, I'm so confused. This is over my head. I don't have to worry about that yet, which I know isn't completely true.
You know, I tell you, 401ks are confusing, and there's a couple of problems. People go to work, they're focused on their work, and when they hire on, maybe there's not a great explanation of exactly you know, how the 401k is structured, and so, you know, they're just kind of blindly going in, trying to do the best they can.
And I know here with our own company, you hear about matching and different options that you can go in and adjust. Usually you can log in on a website. What do we need to know about these plans?
You need to know what options you have, and essentially what a 401k is. It's a variety of mutual fund investments that you can select from, and you need guidance, from someone, your advisor or whoever's doing the 401k plan that can help you. And age-based investing is very, very important. Younger people need to have a more growth-oriented portfolio than people that are nearing retirement, for example. But they need to know what the percentages are that would be appropriate for them in the different allocations. And they also need to understand if there's matching, like you say, from the employer, boy, you want to be sure and to take advantage of that. That's free money right there that's, helping you prepare for your future. But then you need to understand, this money is going to grow tax deferred. It's being reduced from your paycheck, so you're not paying taxes now, but you're going to pay a lot of taxes later. So you need to be prepared for that. Okay,
got it. Also, when are you allowed to start withdrawing all the money that you've saved, and should you touch it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, age 59 and a half is the age that people can take money out of any retirement plan without paying a 10% penalty to the Internal Revenue Service. So that's one, magic age to remember. If they're still working beyond that, even into their late 60s or even beyond 70, they need to know that at age 70 and a half, there's a thing called the required minimum distribution. The RMD, they have to start taking money out of the retirement plan at that point in time.
Okay, even if you are not retired?
That's right. Even if you're still working, you still have the requirement by the Internal Revenue Service to start taking that required minimum distribution out at that point in time.
Okay, got it. Once you decide how to contribute, do you need to do anything else to your account?
You do. Just like we need to stay in shape physically, you need to keep your car tuned up and change the oil and all that. In the financial world, we use the word rebalance. And a lot of people on an automatic, program basis, they rebalance their portfolio on a quarterly basis, because as we set those mutual funds up, that's appropriate for you based on your age and your goals, well, you want to be sure that you stay in the right range, percentages of different investments. And so on a quarterly basis, you can come in and rebalance to make sure you stay in that right mix.
And if someone's listening and they're still totally lost, I'm sure it's a good idea to get some help from someone who can help guide you.
Absolutely. Trusted advisor, somebody that's familiar with the 401ks. As always, we've got information on our website and lots of good sources available. And education is the key for them to understand what their options and opportunities are.
Okay, perfect. Mickey Powell, thank you so much for being with us. And again, all this information is going to be on our website with links to his website and these free tools that you can jump on there and
take advantage of the free education.
Yeah, for sure.